Hello, Cub fans, and welcome to another edition of Cubs on Tap. And I just got to say,
holy cow!
Holy cow! Cubs score 13 runs today. I'm here with Mr. Teddy Freddy 270. Found that little voice thing in there, Tyler. We've never used it. Hopefully, we don't get thrown in jail for it.
No, surely not. I mean, not at this point in the season, right?
I don't think so. Unless they're actively looking for other things. So, also, when we went live, I just got a notification that we can't go live on X anymore. Do we need a premium subscription or something?
I don't know the deal. I know that we're just live on YouTube now. The YouTubes, as they call it. How you doing, Juice?
Yeah, I don't know how to do it. Ron's probably going to jump in here and tell me how to do it eventually, but I messed up. So we're only on the YouTubes tonight and the Facebook, I guess.
And the Facebook.
But title of this episode, Cubs scored 13 runs. Call the fire department. So I had to call Mr. Teddy Freddy 270 into this. Tyler, how you doing, man? We were talking off air about your trip to Cleveland. Awesome, right?
Well, the town Cleveland, the city is as you would say is a poop hole. But I did get to go to the stadium. I went to a Guardians game. And that, not too bad. Got to walk around.
Okay.
I'm more convinced now that Almora's tag up in the World Series is even more impressive after seeing that very small park. And Rajah Davis's home run wasn't a moonshot. So there's that. But Cleveland was fun. It's glad to be back home. And Juice, I had to slap myself in the face, pour water in my face to make sure I wasn't dreaming. This team scored 13 runs. I'm just as surprised as everybody else. But I'm good, man. I'm good.
So I finally figured out how to do this while you were waiting. Yep. We have to just go on the on tap part now. I guess that's the only subscription we have for Premium X. So there we go. So we are live on the Twitter sphere now. Sorry, or X, whatever you want to call it.
You solved it.
I saved our stuff. I had to.
You did.
And it's all my fault for not having the first 3 minutes on Twitter. So please forgive me. Tonight was good. We got to watch Kyle Hendricks, which he was pretty good for 5 innings.
Yeah.
Give or take 4 innings, give or take.
Give or take. That 5th inning, it was about time. We all know.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you this because you're a longtime Cub. You love, 2016. You love being a Cub fan. That's the mecca. How are you enjoying this Kyle Hendricks season? Because it is attached with a very possible, running out of the hourglass.
Yeah.
Which I think is something that I don't think is now getting the attention because we still have plenty of baseball games to watch Kyle pitch. Mm-hmm. But it is eventually going to be probably very huge down the stretch in September. I'm sure his last start, at Wrigley will have some implications because, there is a contract negotiation that hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, okay. And we talked about it at the beginning of the year as far as Kyle Hendricks. They're going to need his innings sometime this season, and as we know now, it's happening right now. Yeah, okay. Kyle was great for 2016. I don't see Kyle as that guy anymore. I know a lot of people on here are and thanks, Tommy Natu. Appreciate you joining the stream, but I don't. Is it bad to say I don't say the whole class is in session and the professor because he's not that guy anymore to me. But with that being said, it's nice that he had this outing tonight. I mean, granted they still lost the series, but I don't. Games like this are nice, but I don't. expect them from Kyle. And I know there's going to be people out there like, shouting at me and yelling and blah, 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 because how could you say that and all that kind of stuff. And I'm at the point where, I mean, you said it, 2 months ago, and it was a very good, in my opinion, was a prediction as far as like when we thought he was going to be DFA'd. It was going to be like on a Friday when his 10-year mark like was surpassed or whatever. You remember that? Like, and we all said, and I'm pretty sure it was you that was talking about it. And I was like, yeah, that's you're probably right, Juice. And the fact that he's made it this far there into the season is, I guess, a little surprising. With that being said, it's nice. His outing tonight was great. I mean, for 4 innings, but I mean, at this point, I think he's just there because, hey, we need you to fill some innings and, help us get through some ball games. And I feel like after the end of this season, there's not really going to be much of a negotiation. I really don't think so.
Do you think that I always say that there's always the type of guys that want to keep playing.
Yeah.
But then there's also the type of guys that are like, they know when they've kind of hit there. Do you think Kyle's kind of maybe that where maybe
I think so, yeah. With his stuff, it's impressive what he's done for the vast majority of his career. Most guys that top out at 91, maybe 92, if that. I
haven't seen him throw 92 in years.
Yeah, I was going to say now he hovers around 89. That alone is impressive. Most people at that point in their career, at that stage, would hang it up, and so it's impressive, and it's commending for Kyle, whatever you want to say, that he still straps it on and goes out there and does it. So hats off to him for that. But yeah, I feel he just seems like the type that I feel like once this season ends, it wouldn't shock me at all if he hung him up, because I mean other than Chicago maybe giving him a small deal, not even close to what was it they gave him this offseason? What was it, like $15 million or something like that, or somewhere?
Yeah, that was an option. So that was in the deal prior. They didn't negotiate that as salary for the year.
I don't see anybody, picking up the phone and throwing a big, I don't even see anybody throwing a $10 million deal to Kyle next season. I really don't. Maybe not even half that. And again, that's no disrespect to Kyle. But yeah, he's wouldn't shock me at all if this was his last season.
I think either way, the correct answer is he's earned either way. He's earned the right to hang him up. He's had a great career, and he's also earned the right if he wants to go pitch somewhere else. Yeah, pitch somewhere else. I get it. I mean, once you hang him up and you're done, there's no more earning unless you're, a manager or a broadcaster. But
I mean, now 30, probably what, 34, 35?
Yeah, how old is he now?
Somewhere around in there.
Gotta be 30, around there.
If at the end of this offseason he says, hey, my body feels great, I'm going to at least try it still. Maybe it wasn't his best, his last season wasn't his best season as far as statistically. But hey, hats off to anybody that, wants to continue to do that. And if they get the opportunity to do it, like you said, you can't say no if somebody's going to throw you a contract. Personally, I just don't see it with Chicago next season.
No, I think it's probably pretty fair unless they truly want to keep him in that fifth starter spot and they're seeing something we're not, which I think that there's other candidates that are far more deserving. Sure. But let's jump into the comments a little bit. Just to clear those out. We got a little Cubs win here from Tominatu. How much is a premium subscription on X? Don't know.
That's a great
really
question.
Don't know. Also, Teddy, you got an amazing man cave there.
I appreciate it. I'm actually about to add something to it. I kind of call it a man den, and that's only because if I had a basement, I would call it a man cave. But it's like I say, it's the I joke to people about it. It's the one room my wife lets me have. So
we need a name for it though, like the Cubby Den, maybe. Or like the something along that. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Yeah. David Snyder jumping in here. Everyone was doom and gloom the last two games. I'm saying wait for Paredes and Belly effect to this lineup. Cubs got more pop now. This lineup is quite a bit beefier now. Yeah, I think there's more consistency. I think that's the bottom line with what they've done. What do you think about that, Tyler?
I mean, you've got to get something going, right? I mean, being 7 games back from a wild card or 6.5, something like that, you've got to get something going. With that being said, I think it's a little too late. I think we're at the point in the season now. Yeah, tonight's game, it was nice to see the offense tonight. Obviously, you would have liked that maybe in the first game for sure. Last night's game as well. I think at this point, and I think we kind of talked about it before the show. We're at the point now in this season where we're just kind of looking at guys and thinking, he's got a nice little stretch going on. Maybe he can help his team out next year. And this guy, and I know you've got some guys you're going to talk about later. Oh, this guy, man, he's looked really good from this role he's having right now. Maybe he can carry that over to next season. And it sucks. It sucks, kind of like, I guess, admitting that now. It'd be nice if this team went on a roll and had a nice little 8-game winning streak. Maybe that starts tonight, and then we're talking about something different, 9 games from now. But I don't know. That's just where I'm at right now.
I agree with you. Yeah, we're going to get to those names in just a few seconds. I'm going to finish up some of these comments. Scott from Iowa, the Cubs legend professor, showed up when they needed it most. Tominatu, the class was in session. I love this take on Morel. Morel's just not the hitter Paredes is. Sure, Morel got 2 homers to Paredes' 2 doubles, but who do you want for the rest of the season? Come on, Morel is like 40 points below Paredes in batting average. Yeah, you're looking to add more consistency in this lineup, and I think that's what the Cubs have definitely done. Morel is great in spurts, but there are long spurts where he does not hit, and that's okay.
Yeah,
and maybe he grows out of that eventually, but we'll see. And the Cubs weren't willing to wait. Scott from Iowa, give him a lifetime coaching contract. That's in reference to Kyle Hendricks. Kyle had 190-mile-per-hour slider tonight. I missed that, if that's even possible for him. I mean, hey, and I like this thought too from David. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I like this thought too from David. With Paredes at third, you're not thinking, oh no, it's hit to Morel at third. He's going to bobble it, throw it offline. I like this thought. This back thought really gets my mind turning, and definitely for the offseason. This opens up the DH spot to other hitters more suited for the DH spot as well. And that's the truth. 100%. And that also allows the Cubs down the line in trade or free agency to add another bat that they can comfortably DH without having to worry about maybe getting at bats for Morel in that DH slot.
I was sitting at the airport on Sunday. We were all texting each other, and I was waiting. I think I was in between flights and noticed that after the trade went down, figuring out, it's Morel going to Tampa, and we're sitting there texting. That's one of the thoughts that I had as far as with, and I think I texted you guys that as far as about Morel is Morel was always going to, for this team to improve next offseason, whoever, I mean, it's obvious. We've said it, the whole entire season that they've got to add bats. They've got to add, they need this thumper in the lineup. They need the guy they can build around, the superstar, whatever you want to call it. And for that to happen, if Morel was still going to be on this team after seeing, and don't get me wrong, I was one of those guys that was saying, hey, let's put Morel at third. Let's see what happens, and we've seen how he plays. Maybe not completely horrendous, but a little, it's shaky. Yeah. But Morel, for this team to have that, what we need next offseason, he was going to be stuck in that lingo. He has shown that he's probably not an everyday third baseman. And so if he was going to play, he's going to take up your DH spot like David, who was it? Maybe it was David. Somebody said it. Yeah, like David said. So, do you want that every day as your DH? Probably not. I mean, yeah, he's got the power potential, but as we've seen so far, it's way too streaky, and he has way too many cold spells for that to just it just wasn't going to work out. And it sucks. And I wish him the best in Tampa. And you watch Tampa will probably turn him into an all-star as well as like the other 10 prospects they got. I mean, they'll turn, you know, it'll probably happen. And I'm sure there'll probably be Cubs fans out there shouting and stuff, but it just wasn't going to work. It wasn't going to work.
No, and two, I love the back and forth in the comments here just to end these out. It's nice to have the DH spot open for Ballesteros coming up point without needing him to put him at catcher. And that's true. Nobody knows if he can even catch. He's trying to. He's not getting a lot of run at that position, but a lot of experts per se view him as just a DH. So, and then right back and forth. Yeah, Morella's a hazard to third base, unless he's a 40 homer guy. This is the thing that I think we're going to love talking about over the offseason, because there's going to be 40 home run guys who are free agents that the Cubs are going to have ability to add. If it's not, a Pete Alonso, if it's not, an Anthony Santander, if it's, a Soto, maybe potentially. I know that's
hope so.
With Jed's comments today, probably doesn't seem too likely.
Yeah.
But one can dream.
Yeah.
But we'll see. But I do want to talk about two names here that have kind of went underneath the radar. I'm going to give just one quick, great game for Paredes. It was nice to see him go down the line twice with authority. The first one actually would have went out of Tropicana, so I was laughing at that. StatCast showed that it would have went out of in Tampa there, so he's probably like, what the hell? But to each their own. They're not a Wrigley yet. We'll see how he fares when he's hitting it into the basket out there, hopefully towards my tie guy. I said this on the show the other day. I was like, I don't care what he does, just hit it right at my tie guy every time, and we'll be good. But Tyler, I want to talk about the under the radar seasons that two pitchers out of this bullpen are kind of having, and they both pitched tonight. And I want your opinion on what you've seen out of them. And first, we'll start with the lefty. Drew Smyly is putting together one hell of a year, man. He would absolutely be a guy that would be really interesting to see what your opinions are on what he's going to command. Do you think you should bring him back? I mean, just some numbers in the last 30. He's pitched 40 innings, a 2.75 ERA in 28 games. In the last 15, he's got a 1.27 in 21 innings. And I'll tell you right, in the last 10 innings, just to keep going for closer and closer towards, sample size, a 0.87 ERA in 7 games. A lot of questions about Luke Little and what he'll be able to do going into next year. Even when he's on the field healthy, he's hard to find the, find the strike zone for him. What are your opinions on Smyly, and should the Cubs realistically think about exercising that team option that they have? Because lefty bullpen arms seem to be a problem for this, and they may have found one.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I had zero to little confidence in Drew Smyly coming into this season. Hand up. Really thought that didn't have high expectations for the guy at all. He has exceeded my expectations so far this season. And he was a guy that I was saying before the trade deadline, I thought he was going to be an absolute lock to get traded. I thought if there was one guy on the whole entire major league roster right now, well, before the trade deadline, I thought the one guy that was going to be guaranteed to get traded was Drew Smyly, a veteran lefty that gets guys out. He's been there. He's been all over the place. He's pitched in the playoffs. He's a guy that I was just like, yeah, he's for sure. He's gone, and he's not. And like you said, with Luke Little and a lat injury, which, if you don't know, I mean, they could be something that keeps you out for a whole year. Yeah. And you never know what you're going to get when you come back from it. anything with the back, with anything that revolves around that, your neck, anything like that. Like you just don't. I mean, look at Ben Brown. We all thought he just had a little neck cramp, and now he still hasn't even returned yet. So you don't know what the case is with Luke Little, and then you go look at the depth chart, and you're like, what are other options? And there's really not many. So why not just take another chance on Drew Smiley, who's proven it so far this year? I mean, a guy that originally was signed to be a starter, and I think a lot of us, me included, like I didn't like the idea of like throwing him from starter to reliever, and he finally just got stuck in that bullpen role, and he's done very well all season long. And I believe you said, Juice, was it 9 million next year?
10. It's 10 million, but I mean, even at 10, it's
that bad.
Salvageable.
Exactly. It's salvageable. Like, why not? Because you don't have many other options. I don't know what all is going to be available on the free agent market next offseason. So you know what you got in Smiley. It wouldn't be a bad idea to bring him back. Why not? Who says no?
I don't know the rules behind, like, if you decline his option, if you can go back to him and go, will you sign at this dollar amount? That would be my first question. If they're able to do that, that would be what I do. I'd be like, all right, I'm going to decline your option for 10, but can we meet at like 7? Can we meet at like 6? You know what I mean? And I'm sure it's just a matter of like, I don't know what Drew Smiley's market's going to look like.
Exactly. But, he's another guy that he'll be next season, he'll be entering his aged 36th season. And to go back, to go back on the Kyle Hendricks conversation for a guy that has reached a point in his career where if he says, "Hey, I had a good season in 2024, I want to try it again next season," and to kind of take that and piggyback off of Tom Anito's comment here about being a starter, I think he's also at a point in his career where, as we know, he hasn't had much success. He hasn't had a lot of success with the Cubs as a starter. I know I believe it was last season, he had some moments. I think he had that one hitter against San Diego, but it's almost like after that, things kind of fell off the rails for him. Wasn't a guy that's going to blow you away, at least from the starting position. So maybe he does decide to pitch again next season. I think that's something, though, that he's going to have to come to terms with is, hey, maybe my best option is out of the bullpen. He's just keeping that bullpen job. And if that's the case, I think he's going to be pitching next season. And it would, like you said, and like we talked about, it would not be a bad idea at all for Chicago to bring him back.
No, I don't. I think too, and I've spoke on this. I think we were on a live like maybe a month and a half ago, and we tried to name like good lefty relievers that the Cubs had, and it was tough. Yeah. Like to sit and like talk about in the 2000 eras of baseball, like not Chapman. I'm not talking about closers. I'm talking about middle of the inning lefty relievers.
That's when we were talking, because I brought up the dreaded Mike.
That's who did you? I'm sorry, you cut out for me there.
I said, I remember that live stream now because that's when we got to talking about the dreadful Mike Rimlinger.
Yes, we talked about him. Sean Russell? I believe from the 2010s, maybe. I mean, obviously Sean Marshall. There were some runs in there where he was coming out of the bullpen. He got traded.
And then you had recently was Brandon Hughes, everybody thought last year he was going to come back towards the end, but never really got to. But yeah, there really hasn't been that many left-handed middle relief setup guys.
No, the Cubs haven't done well with that over the course of their last 20 years, I would say, to be comfortable. And again, it's tough. I think if I were trying to find any of that as a GM, I think that's maybe the hardest, like, actual profile player to find, which is a really good lefty reliever. Because think about it, like, they really don't go many places. Like, think about Hader. Hader was with Milwaukee for so long. Now he's with San Diego not having the best of season, but
Houston.
Last time I checked, it was with Houston. Sorry about that. It was with Houston. Not having the best of season as of recently, from what I checked. Maybe he's turned it around, but
and most of the good ones find themselves on a playoff team at the end of the season too.
100%. Yeah, I mean, right? Who traded for Andrew Chafin this trade deadline? That was recent too.
Gosh, my mind gone blank. Detroit traded him too. That's going to bug the crap. Yeah. Shoot, who was it? It wasn't. He didn't go back to a team he's been on, right?
He's with the Rangers.
Rangers.
He's with the Rangers now.
There you go.
Yeah, I love me some Andrew Chafin.
Yeah, I'm telling you, he's one of the lefty relievers, that had success with Chicago. But yeah, I mean, why not bring him back? Wouldn't be a bad idea.
So this second guy we're going to talk about, I think, is a huge piece for this future, because I think he's a guy who can 100% kind of maybe fill into that 7th, maybe 8th if he keeps progressing the way he's progressing. And that's Porter Hodge. Hodge in 19 games this season, 2.05 ERA in 22 innings pitched, 25 strikeouts, and a .86 WHIP. We were talking about him offline a little bit, and he's just had a great season. I mean, if you look at his Ks per 9 too, it's close. I think it's at 9.
Oh yeah,
it's 9.9. I told you earlier. He's got the stuff. He's got that 95 to 97 mile an hour fastball that I think we have kind of coveted for a while here, with some nasty breaking stuff. I mean, he threw that slider today to who was the guy I think that was his first at bat, or in the big leagues for the Reds there. Guy they had brought up, I'm forgetting his name. He batted it in the 8th, I think. I got to go back and look. But I'm going to go back and look. But he's got great stuff. Tell me a little bit of what you're seeing about.
Was it Yang?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes, that's what it was. Sorry about that.
No, it's impressive what he's done so far. I mean, 22 innings. You have a WHIP under 1, which is really impressive. He's held opponents' batting averages to 130. I saw it earlier, like 130 something. I mean, he's another guy. And like we talked about it, we're at that point of the season. It feels like we're trying to find positive things, positive outlooks, positive whatever you want to call it. To kind of like, I guess, hype us up for next season. And he's a guy, just 23 years old. It's really impressive. It really is. And hopefully that's something that it carries over to next season. And whether this team goes on a hot streak or not, if that guy continues to do what he's doing so far, like you said, with his nasty, a splitter and a sweeper. Yeah, he's another guy that's going to find himself in the bullpen next season.
I think so too. And I think I don't usually talk about this for a guy that young. He's still only 23 years old, but he has just such poise on the mound. It seems like when he goes out there, he's not too rattled. He's not somebody who's, taken in by the moment. And don't get me wrong. This isn't a playoff series. This is the salvage game of the Reds series in a season that you're probably not making the playoffs. But he's shown nothing but good trust, I think, to Craig Counsell. And I think Counsell would probably, if we're looking at like we were talking about earlier, we're trying to find bright spots on this ball club as we go down the stretch. I think he's under the radar, a huge bright spot of what's happened over the course of, his 19 games here in the majors.
Yep.
I love his stuff. I love his makeup on the mound, and it seems like he's comfortable in that role, even though, he was a starter at one point. I think he now has realized the fact that, you're pitching 1 inning, maybe 2 if Counsell wants to throw you out there, but let that big dog eat, right? Go out there, throw hard, get a lot of spin rate on the breaking pitches, and let's call it, let's call it an inning after that, because he's got nasty stuff, man. And I think that's going under the radar of how good he's been. I want to go down his baseball savant and go a little deeper into his spin rates and stuff like that. That's more of an off-season thing that I do once the data has been compiled. But I would imagine he's got to have some elite stuff when it comes
Oh
to.
yeah, we'll definitely be hearing. We'll be hearing about this from you, like in the off season when we have that episode. You'll bring the plan. You'll bring the book out. You'll bring the planner out, the book of secrets that you have every off season, and that will be in your that'll be in your book. It will be.
Yes, I'll have all my stats, all my nerdy stuff.
Yeah.
And that's why we got to take a break from this and go back to the comments, because I think I'm taking too much nerdy time. Scott from Iowa, Cubs record by month. Yeah.
I mean, this series was just tonight was great, but obviously overall this series was a huge disappointment. Cincinnati, I'm going to say this about Cincinnati, obviously, because I can't stand Cincinnati. Cincinnati has been a thorn in this team's side, it feels like, for the past 4 seasons. But so is every other team in this division. Their record against NL Central teams is just awful. So that's what, and it sucks. It's the same old song and dance, but it just sucks, and it gives me no confidence as far as making a run in the wild card, because this team can't even beat the fourth worst team in this division, and so that sucks. And it just makes it worse that it's Cincinnati. But yeah, Scott, you kind of just that's a summary for you right there, and it just goes to show that division games really, really, really matter. And
they do.
They've just been unsuccessful with that all season long.
Yeah, to build on it too, I think the summary of what Scott just said for the record and the summary that you've given about the division play is the same summary that Darren's given here, which is the reason we lose is because we're missing 2 bats. We need to solidify that bullpen, including a closer, which I agree.
Yeah.
But maybe they've decided and they've gotten their daily third baseman, which is nice to see. Hey, at the end of this, we may look back at this trade deadline and go, they did the right thing. I know there's a lot of back and forth. There's a lot of mixed opinions on what Jed did. But I'll say this. We may look back at it and go, Paredes was that first bat that we needed. And then the Cubs went out and got 2 bats. Maybe one of them's in-house. Maybe it's Ballesteros or a Shaw. And you move, somebody who's in the middle infield on to a new team. I don't know. We'll see. But who's to say that, next year we're not looking at this comment and going, it was fixed. It was fixed starting at the trade deadline of this year. And we went out and we spent a little bit of money to add some offense, add more power, and we solidified the bullpen in-house. And it's probably going to be a combination of in-house trades and free agency or what's going to fix this bullpen, and the same thing with the bats. So it's going to be interesting. I think there's going to be a lot of off-season deals for the Cubs this offseason.
For sure. And
I'm predicting that.
The one, I guess, the other nice thing about this series is at least they crushed a guy, Nick Lodolo, because that guy, he's a pretty good pitcher, and you could argue that he's one of the top pitchers in the division.
It was nice, and they hit him. There was not a baseball that was softly hit in that third inning. I'll tell you that. I mean, everyone was on the screws. It was nice to see. And then a lot of talk about Hunter Biggie. He wanted to be Tominatu wanted to be the closer. We'll see. Bit disappointed we couldn't save Hendricks for the Cardinal series. He absolutely owns him. Yes, he does. And Darren also wanted to keep Biggie. Pulled the trigger on, but you would have pulled the trigger on Paredes as well. Obviously disappointing series, Cubs, but the Cubs are unsweepable. And then Tominatu going back to him and saying, I'd rather traded Neris Morel for Paredes than Biggie and Morel. Yeah, well, maybe. I mean, maybe we don't know who was in the deals.
Yeah, and the thing with Neris is the deal with Neris is feel like he's probably made enough appearances now that he's owed X amount now, right? So that's a problem. That's an issue trying to sell him to other teams. It's like if you trade him, and they accept that trade, more than likely you're not going to get much return. It's going to be more of just a salary dump for Hector because he's had his moments this season, but he's also had his bad moments this season. And I feel like not too many teams are probably going to go after a guy like Hector Neris. But yeah, like you said, maybe this deal for Paredes is one of those things. Yeah, like you said, we're looking back next season, and no, he's probably not going to be like he's not going to be your thumper in the lineup, but maybe he's one of those role guys that can hover around like a few of those thumpers that we hopefully get next offseason. And I mean, he was an all-star this year, so that's nice. So yeah, maybe it's something we're talking about next offseason as far as this deal. Isn't it weird though? Isn't it kind of funny that these last two trade deadlines we've traded for third baseman?
I did not think of that, but yes, you're right. But then again, since Chris Bryant, they've streamlined that position as almost a plug and play per year. I mean, think about it. And even like, yeah, I mean, realistically, they didn't play Bryant at third much either. Yeah. I mean, they put him out in left pretty often as well to, flex out to play, get different guys at third as well. So, I mean, Bodie played third there for a while because he was a thing. And then, remember they tried Ian Happ at third for a while?
He did play a couple games at third, didn't he?
He did, which was weird.
Yeah. Yes, it was. Looking
came back up as second baseman. So
yeah.
Maybe they'll move him back to second one day. No, I don't think so. I think he's stuck in left.
Probably.
Just to finish that Hector Neris contract situation, just so everybody's well aware of it, the team option converts to a player option if he appears in 60 games. Yeah. He's at 40 right now, and he didn't pitch the last two nights, so he was at 40 at the trade deadline, if I'm not mistaken. So you were only getting Hector Neris for 20 games until he was opting in at $9 million next year, which is, I mean, for Hector, yeah. So I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, a lot of talk about the Neris contract in here. But we are getting towards the end of this series, Tyler. They lost it, which kind of sucks. But the boys were on last night for the live, so I'm sure that they covered a lot of the game before.
Speaking of the live, boy, our record sucks, doesn't it? For live series,
have we won one? We won one.
We've won one game, and it was against the Mets, and it was all thanks to that play at the plate. It's blanking my mind. It was a play at home that was in our favor because he was called. The call was in our favor to begin with. And,
the call was out. He was safe.
Yeah, and he was safe, but because that he called him. Yeah, I think that's the only game we've won on a live stream. But
I don't know why. But that's the other thing. I don't know why people want to continue to have us do the lives when we constantly lose over. And
I'm
over
surprised that nobody has signed a big giant petition and sent it to us or anything like that. But all it takes is one, guys. All it takes is one game, and then it's going to be two. We're going to work on you just never know. Okay. Maybe we need another. Well, I would say 999, but I don't know if that worked last. I don't know, but we're just going to keep on with them. We're going to keep it on. And maybe, God, it's got to change soon, right?
All I know is we've done enough lives and lost enough games that if we didn't do the lives and they won all those games, the Cubs are probably 3 games back of the wild card.
You're probably right.
Probably safe to say, right?
Yeah.
So we may be the problem, but either way, it is what it is.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. We're good, man. It's not us. It's not us.
It's not. It's Joey. Moving on. Tomorrow is August 1st, so July comes and goes as it seems like it does every year, way too fast. The Cubs will be hosting those terrible St. Louis Cardinals. It'll be Shota Imanaga 8-2 against Sonny Gray 10-6. Nice pitching matchup. 7:05 p.m. Central Time start. It'll be kind of fun because you'll get to see the new look Cardinals-ish, right? I mean, they made some trades. They brought some guys in.
They brought back Tommy Pham.
Yeah, they love Tommy Pham too, right? And he was smiling ear to ear for getting traded off the White Sox into the Cardinals to be back in St. Louis again. But good pitching matchup tomorrow, 7:05. It'll be Isaac Paredes' first chance at Wrigley to probably show what he can do in front of his new fans, which is cool. Tyler, what do they got to do to win a series against those goddamn Redbirds?
You've got to hit the freaking ball like you did tonight. You've got to start. You basically got to get on that streak that they got on before the All-Star break. That's what's got to happen. You've got to have like just some convincing wins. Get the guys going. Get the guys talking. Get the guys motivated, pump up, whatever you want to call it. Hell, if it takes throwing one up and in on Tommy Pham and getting everybody out of the dugouts to sprawl around a little bit, if that's what it takes, by God, do it. Do it. What's the worst that could happen? Oh, somebody gets thrown out. Okay, cool. But yeah, you've got to smoke the freaking baseball is what you've got to do. And I think one of these games, the Eric Fetty, the other guy they got from the White Sox, he's throwing just if the hitters could just act like in their heads that they're just facing the White Sox again, because Eric Fetty's pitching and he's a former White Sox. If he could just picture that in his head, that and just smack the ball around again, yeah, good things will happen. But yeah, you just gotta hit the crap out of the ball, because Shota's him. He's going to do his thing. I believe Justin pitches on Sunday, but Jameson had a rough start his last outing. That's not his normal self. He's going to come back and be fine, like he's been most of the season. And yeah, the ass man, I think he's throwing Friday, and everything's going to be good. So just hit the ball, and it wouldn't shock me if we saw a sweep.
I hope you're right. It'd be nice to see us win let alone win a series against a division. It feels like it's been forever since that's happened. Or maybe, Pittsburgh. Was it Pittsburgh in like May?
That's a great question. No. They won as far as win a series or sweep?
No, against the division.
Oh gosh, has it been that long?
I can't remember the last time. Maybe Milwaukee.
I think you're right, because like the last series they won was what was it? Baltimore and the Angels. That felt like the first series they won since Nam. I think, Juice, you may be right, because they didn't win the series. They haven't won a series against Milwaukee all season, I don't think.
I don't know.
Wow.
But either way, it's pathetic.
Yeah, you just need to insert the clip from the old lady from the Titanic right now, where she's just like, it's been 84 years.
Yeah, right. It'd just be nice to win a series against them and win, and at home too, right? I mean,
Friday. You got a Friday 120 this series. I mean, come on.
No, it's 7:05
on Friday.
Oh, you do? Yeah, that's right. Tomorrow's 7:05.
Yeah, you've got a Friday 120 game. You've got come on. It's the beginning of a new month, a new slate, a new canvas. I mean, come on. What do you say? What do you say, everybody? Come on. Just wake up, eat a good breakfast, and just be ready to go.
Holy cow.
Holy cow is right. That's what they're going to be saying at the end of this series.
I love playing around with that.
Oh, shoot. I didn't realize that, Jay. Thanks for letting us know that. Sunday night is Sunday night. Gosh, man, that sucks.
Maybe I'll go to the game so I don't have to make my ears bleed.
Yeah, might need to. I mean,
yeah, bad.
Yeah, that sucks. I did not know that. All right.
Yeah. Well,
Cool.
they got to work in Cubs Cardinals a year.
Yeah. Well, they did. They did the they had one on a
right.
It was the Sunday night that Paul Goldschmidt and Ian Happ both hit 2 home runs, I think, or at least I know Paul Goldschmidt did. It was at St. Louis.
We lost that one too, I'm sure.
And we lost that one, yeah.
Yeah.
But I guess we're due. We're due. So
we're due. So that's my analysis too. We're due. Just win a goddamn series against your division for once in the whole year.
Yeah. Exactly.
Can you imagine how bad this team would be if they didn't have like interleague play? Because they played interleague play surprisingly well.
Could you? Yeah, I was going to say that, and well, I agree with you on that. And also, could you imagine how bad this team would be like if the pitching was not what it was?
I honestly sometimes wish that the pitching wasn't as good as it is, because at least we'd be losing by a bunch.
At least that's one like kick in the nuts you could avoid as well. Our pitching sucks too, so that's why we're you know what I mean? That's why we're losing all these. That's why we've got the 4th worst record in the National League, is because our pitching, but it's not. So
the Cubs, and I've said this to a couple buddies, the Cubs are me on a treadmill, which I'm not super super thin, and they're dangling a cupcake in front of me, I'm never gonna get it. That's 100% what this Cubs team is.
That's a good way to look at it. Yeah.
It's because it's right there, and we do so much right, but we're just not good enough to get to Cubs.
Yeah, it's like it's not the. Is it The Godfather when it's like just when they think I'm out or whatever, they pull me back in or whatever? This one's like they pull me in, and they push me back out.
Yep, and then I smell like shit when I'm done. But
we're due, Juice. Tyler, we're due. We're totally due.
We're so due.
So
this was fun tonight, buddy.
It was. I feel like I haven't talked in a while. It's been a while, so I'm glad to get back on the mic.
I haven't been on these shows in a really long time either.
Oh, I know. Yeah, the last time you were going through a tornado.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
Yeah.
I was in the tornado. That was 3 weeks ago,
I guess.
Dude, July always flies.
I know, and it sucks. It sucks because I love July.
July
is my favorite month. It's my favorite month of the year. So much
good.
Going on.
It's so good. Oh, little side note before we go. Final after show thoughts. My parents went to Fenway Park last week.
How'd they like it?
Loved it. So it's pushed up my list of how quickly I need to get there.
You do need to go. A few years ago, there was a lady in my little small town of Kentucky. Her grandfather somehow had season tickets to Fenway Park. And the crazier thing where they were like 3 rows behind home plate. And one year, my brother and I just got lucky and got hooked up with tickets with her. And yeah, it was awesome. I believe it was in 2018. When it was the year the Red Sox won and they're playing the Astros. So it was an awesome series. But yeah, dude, you gotta go. You gotta go for sure.
It's on my list. I've pushed it up. I want to go there, and in the same trip, I want to try to do Camden Yards because that's another one. Oh
God, Camden Yards. Just another little side note. Because this is a baseball podcast too. It's not just Cubs. We talk baseball, and we're at the point now where we can do that because
And by the way, Tyler, I'll be heavily rooting for the Baltimore Orioles to win the World Series.
Oh yeah, for sure. I wouldn't be mad at all if Baltimore won the World Series. Just a little side note. Anybody that wants to go to Camden Yards, it's really not a bad. If you're flying, it's not a bad flight. You fly there. There's a train that takes you literally right to the front of the stadium. I've been to it numerous times. Just because that's where the National Sports Collectors Convention that I go to every year. It happened to be there. It was like 2 out of 4 years, a few years ago. And it was back when Baltimore was terrible. So we got easy seats. It was Nick Markakis bobblehead night one night. That's how.
No.
Yeah.
I love Nick Markakis.
It's somewhere, that bobblehead is somewhere down in the depths of my parents' basement that good luck finding anything down there. I'll just say that because it's like, yeah. But hey, I got another little post, kind of like a
yeah. Got a little post show
because whatever the trade deadline's come and gone. I was going to ask you a little trade deadline question. I was thinking about it last night because I know we were going to have the live stream. Didn't get on, but last 10 years, kind of like two questions. You can be quick, whatever.
Yeah.
Last 10 years, okay. What has been your favorite move, favorite trade that the Cubs have made at the trade deadline or around the trade deadline in the last 10 seasons? And then my second question is what in the last 10 seasons? Oh, wait, let me start. Back it up. Sorry. Erase that. That's not what I was going to. Here. What was the one trade in the last 10 seasons that you wish the Cubs would have made? That's what I'm saying. That's my question. What's the one trade in the last 10 seasons? You're the GM. Ooh. What's the one trade in the last 10 seasons that you wish the Cubs would have made? And then my other question is, in the last 10 seasons, what's the one trade that the Cubs have made that you regret? And I've got mine, and it's in the same year.
One trade that I regret?
One trade that the Cubs made in the last 10 seasons that you regret. The trade that happened, you're just like, why did we? Yeah.
That's hard. I'd have to see a long time ago. I would have said Quintana for Eloy and Cease.
Yeah.
But now that's kind of changed. I would have been fine trading Eloy for Quintana straight up and keeping Cease. Can you imagine where this team is if they had Cease on
that was my regret.
Yeah.
But it also but that regret is connected to the trade that I wish would have happened in the last 10 seasons.
Which is what?
In 2017, the Cubs should have got Justin Verlander.
Yeah, that's one of them that went through my mind. I was trying to think if there was like a guy who got traded that I would have wondered if the Cubs should have been in on him.
There was one trade in 2015. This kind of goes back to my idea about there needs to be an MLB What If, which is a Marvel series on Disney Plus.
We should really just do that for On Tap. An MLB What If, and then we could.
There was a trade. There was a trade proposal in 2015 that involved Starlin Castro going to the New York Mets for Jacob deGrom. And at the time, we were like, Jacob deGrom, that long-haired, no. And now it's like, which, he's hurt now, but like, he had that, that stretch of just greatness. But, what if? What could have been? Who knows? But
I always go back to like a trade that I wish they didn't make was that Rich Harden one. I mean, Rich Harden was decent, but they gave up Josh Donaldson out of that. Yeah. Donaldson had great seasons. I mean, obviously it all worked out. They ended up winning a World Series regardless. But
I love watching Rich Harden pitch. It just sucked because it felt like Rich Harden pitched on a Cubs team that were just like all that production he had just really didn't matter.
In hindsight, too, I wish that they would have gotten more for Craig Kimbrell.
Yeah.
I mean, thinking about that, they ended up getting Cody Hoyer, who unfortunately I thought he was going to be good, but I mean, the whole arm thing just fell off. And Nick Madrigal, who drives me nuts when he's out there most of the time. But I mean, both teams lost that trade, and I always try when I get to that point, that thought point too. I always think about how Kimbrell's daughter was sick during that time. I think she had some type of sickness, and she was at Lurie's Children's. So they did good by him by sending him to the White Sox.
That's pretty cool.
I mean, that doesn't help us win baseball games, but in the long run, it was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's great. That's a great topic. You can go back even further. When the Brewers traded for CC Sabathia,
Yeah.
I thought that the Cubs should have been in on that because they were close in the division on that year. And he was maybe the best trade deadline acquisition of all time. Do you remember down that stretch? He pitched on 4 days rest.
It was amazing.
3 times down the stretch. That was and I hate the Brewers, but I was sitting there like, good for them. You know who I do wish they would have traded for? Like, just figured it out. And I've said this for a really long time. Jose Ramirez. I want Jose Ramirez to be a Cub so bad.
Yeah.
It's not ever going to happen, but
it's not going to happen, and it sucks because I still feel like he's one of the most. It's crazy even saying this. I still think he's one of the most underrated players in baseball because he plays in Cleveland. But yeah, he's a dude.
Would have been nice too if the Cubs were in on like the Yelich deal too. Imagine how they could have went to the Marlins and probably given them a better package than what they received. But Miami's just they're awful. This is a good one too. Darren here. But after the World Series, Yankees offered a bunch of prospects for Schwarber. We should have done that. I didn't. I don't know the names.
Speaking of the Yankees, and I know we're at the end of the show, but speaking of the Yankees and trades and stuff, you remember in 2016 when they traded Gleyber Torres for Aroldis Chapman, and everyone was like, "How could you do that? You're trading away your future superstar shortstop." And now this guy, like, he's the worst defender in the AL. Can't play second base. He's already made the comment that he doesn't want to switch over to third base. It's been an absolute disaster for Gleyber Torres. But like, how crazy! I remember getting in the biggest argument with one of my former high school teachers because he was a big Braves fan. He's going on and on and on about, you guys just traded Gleyber and yada yada yada. You traded away your future, and look at it now.
If you win a World Series, trades don't matter.
Exactly. That's why that's the point. That's the whole point sometimes of having a top farm system is to make your team better, whether that's them coming up to play with you or trading away guys to get better guys. So, and that was a classic prime example of it.
In the flip too, my favorite trade the last 10 years, it's a tie. It's a tie between Dempster to the Rangers for Kyle Hendricks or the Baltimore Orioles trade for Arrieta and for Stroh. That's a tie for my two favorites.
Oh yeah.
That was just
arguably the best. Yeah. Arguably the best trades in
Scott Feldman history. Right?
Yeah. Scott Feldman.
Yep. Scott Feldman. But hey, if you win a World Series, nothing else matters.
Exactly.
But we're going to close this one out, Tyler. Great post show. I love doing the post show. Big fan of post show.
It's always
talk about it how we want to. OnTap or CubsOntap is powered by OnTap Sportsnet. There you can find all your sports and literature needs. Bulls, Bears, Hawks, you name it. Bears about to start. Bears have a football game tomorrow. Isn't that crazy?
Is tomorrow what?
Hall of Fame game.
The Hall of Fame game? That's crazy. Like
football just comes out of nowhere, I feel like.
It's almost here.
Before you know it, it'll be the regular season football stuff too. Bears on Tap will be covering the post of that. We have it all. Head over to www.ontapsportsnet.com and read all the stuff that makes you smarter when you're talking about the campfire with your friends. That way you can be like, hey, I saw this stat. And then they could be like, no, that stat's not right. And you can be like, no, I got it from OnTap Sportsnet. Look at that. Perfect. But Cubs win 13-4, right? 13-4. What did they finish today?
Close enough. 13-4, I think.
See, this is why post show just makes me forget Cubs baseball scores. Didn't matter. They scored 13 runs.
Yeah.
They win, score 13 runs, call the fire department. I had to call in the fireman coming, Mr. Teddy Freddy 270. Thank you for joining. Tyler, let's get out of here the only way we know how, which is, I'm sure you got one prepared for us.
Cardinals. F them. This week we're coming for you. We're due. As Juice said, as I've said, we're due. And we're coming for you. And at the end of every single game and at the end of this series, we're all going to be saying F the Cardinals. happily with a big fat smile on my face.
And let's go
Holy
Cubbies.
cow.
Cubs.
Holy cow.